Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast. I am your host, Dr. Renee Jordan, and today I'm going to take a look at another blog post from June 2018. This one is called Following Trails of Literature. All right. While taking a pause in the middle of the week, I picked up Letter to My Daughter, a recent purchase also connected to the writing retreat. Long story short, Flat-Footed Truths Telling Black Women's Lives includes an entry by Alice Walker, Looking for Zora. Soon after reading this entry, I received a notification that Howard University recently published a Zora Neale Hurston manuscript, Bear Raccoon, the story of the last Black cargo. And then while purchasing this book, I decided to pick up another book from one of my favorite authors, which led me to a list of books by Maya Angelou. Interesting enough, during the writing retreat, I included a letter to my mom in my manuscript. When I read the title, Letter to My Daughter, I thought to myself, she has a son, not a daughter. At any rate, letters have recently taken on greater meaning, and so I made my purchase. Things that make you go, During my 2-day read of Letter to My Daughter, I had an enormous revelation. I realized that I was not a writer who teaches, but a teacher who writes. Angelou, 2008, pages 118 to 19. Wait, those were her words, not mine, but they seem to be taken from the same recesses of my mind and brought forth directly to my line of sight. What just happened? I am no longer in the classroom and still refer to myself as a teacher. One of the more recent compliments that I received was from the human resources talent manager. She said that I was such a good teacher. I'm in grant administration and still teaching. Regardless of how your physical position in life changes, make sure that you practice your calling wherever you find yourself. Do not limit your practice to the narrow confines of systematic constructs established before you arrived. You were made to fulfill your calling and not simply fill a space erected by someone who does not know you or your purpose. Another Flat-Footed Truths entry to Miss Ida B. with Love by Miriam DaCosta Willis includes a series of letters from the authors to Ida B. Wells during her writing process. There are obvious connections between this text and what I share above, but I do want to lift my blog post here for consideration. When I started my website, this is round 3, I think, I decided to focus my blog on what I would want to share with my nieces and others who are navigating academia. Although there is nothing top secret here, I do hope that learning is taking place. In short, this blog post reminded me that I've read a lot of good books, and those good books have a way of impacting how you write. So you might not use their words, but you think about how they make you feel. You think about how they make you think. You think about what time and place and space you were in when you read them. What was going on in your life? What did those books and readings touch on that impacted you, whether it changed the way you thought about a situation, whether it opened your mind up to think about things differently, whether it allowed you to reach some closure about things that you didn't have control of. One of the things that I was dealing with, once again, was the death of my mother. That was significant. No one had ever talked to me about such things before, but I did get solace from being able to say, you know what? My mom gave me everything she had. She taught me like it was an emergency. She had a story for everything, and that helped things to sink in so that when I walk through life, I have those as references. I have those as tools. I have those things to help me navigate things in school, at work, in life, and wherever I find myself. Now, my mother was a great lady, but there are also other great ladies that can help you along your way. I want to recommend reading Zora Neale Hurston. I want to recommend reading Maya Angelou. I want to recommend reading Ida B. Wells. I want to recommend reading flat-footed truths so that you can take a look for yourself to see what words of wisdom, what words of encouragement, what words of caution others have to say that can help you along your way. Things don't always have to be in an article format. Poetry, nonfiction, fiction, words have meaning, words have power, and what you learn from what you read is personal, and you can take that with you along your way. One of the benefits of coming out of the classroom was that the work that I did had impact on the classrooms that I could not reach as an individual teacher. In other words, when I got to become an instructional technologist, I was able to work with 180 faculty on their classes. That meant I was able to reach far more classes than I would ever see. When I got to Title III grant administration, I was able to impact classrooms and learning spaces with over $4 million a year. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of impact. And as a result of being in the classroom for so long, I knew the value that that money could bring when it is put into the learning spaces. Those learning spaces could be the physical classrooms. Those learning spaces could be the opportunities that students have to engage with technology. Those learning spaces could be a result of students having access to equipment. Those learning spaces could be impacted as a result of faculty being able to redesign classes over the summer and get paid for it. Time is money, and we need to stop thinking that people should do things for free. When it comes to education, time is still money. And money also invested in professional development of faculty. All of that has a trickle-down effect in impacting what goes on in classes, in classrooms, labs, and student work. And so I have been able to make a great difference at my institution. Now, when I moved on to my next position as an associate director that not only oversees grant funds, but manages and coordinates different programs that happen in order to broaden participation in computing, I'm able to reach even further. Not only am I supporting faculty, not only am I supporting students, these students and faculty are across the nation, and I'm able to go and see them in these different places and spaces in ways that I wasn't able to before. Why are you sharing this, Renee? I'm sharing this because an instructional technologist did not come to my career day when I was in school. Yet it is a position that people who are in education, people who are interested in impacting education as it relates to technology and learning spaces, trainings, not just education, instructional technologists and instructional designers are also in corporate spaces, specifically when it comes to human resources. These people did not come to my classroom for career day, but a teacher was there. And a teacher is who I became, and a teacher is who I remain, even though I was able to move out of the classroom and have greater impact by working with teachers, by working with faculty, by getting funding to teachers and faculty in order to help support their learning. Grant administrators did not come to my career day, but it is a position that is worth looking into. Grant administrators are in many places and spaces. There are corporations who have nonprofit arms, and as a result, need grant administrators. People who like to follow the rules and make sure others are following the rules make great grant administrators, not only those who are interested in following the rules, but those who know how to push money and say, hey, this is how I can support you. Let's talk about what your goals and your objectives will be. How will you report on the progress of what you said you are going to do? How does that feed back into the strategic plan of your organization and what you want to accomplish? And when those funds are up, how do you plan to take on the financial responsibility of those things that were once funded by a grant? Also, the last position that did not come to my classroom for career day was an associate director of operations, finances, and compliance. Nope, didn't have one of those. But it's important to have people who care in these spaces and know the impact and the meaning and the value and the worth, so that when they're overseeing it, they're making sure that they're thinking of those who are often forgotten about in order to ensure that there is equity in the processes that take place, to make sure that those who need the access are indeed getting it, taking account of them, and making sure that they get the help they need along the way. Now, you might say, Renee, what does all this have to do with following trails of literature? Following the trails of literature happens to not only exist in the pages of books and poems, but also in the pages that you write in your chapter of life. What do you have to say? What has led you to where you are? What have you read or who have you spoken to that help you to get this far? And then the question becomes, who are you talking to help along their way? What information are you sharing with them, whether it's written or verbal, in order to help them along the way? These are just some things to think about and consider as you journey through life. Once again, thank you for listening to another episode of the Black-Liberation.Tech podcast. I am your host, Dr. Renee Jordan. Please feel free to like, subscribe, and share, rate, and review the podcast to help it become more discoverable. And until next time, bye-bye.